Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to today's show. My special guest is Dr. Robert Vanbergen. Welcome back, Robert. It's great to see you, or Rob, second time on the show. So how's it going?
It's going good, Wayne. Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
Okay, so just for our audience who haven't heard you before, just give us a little recap on who you are and what you're doing.
Sure. So I work with a company, pretty much run it on and off now, called Pain Free for Life. We're based on Vancouver Island in British Columbia, Canada. And we work on helping people resolve their chronic pain, predominantly using microcurrent therapy. We have lots of different techniques that we use with the microcurrent devices, but a lot of what we do is helping people get the machines, teach them how to use it. So most of our patients actually are in the US and Australia, even though we're based in Canada, because this is all about this remote stuff. But it's been great to be able to reach so many people all around the world.
Okay, so you've got this microcurrent treatment and you follow the Hache Protocol. So tell us a little bit about the basics of how this thing works.
Sure. So for the Hache Protocol is a series of microcurrent protocols, but it also includes your basic stuff we need for good health, right? You need to reduce your stress. You need to eat well. You need to be exercising. You can't just sit on a couch and expect to heal. And you need to sleep. So we incorporate all those things in, but then ultimately the crux of this, the keystone, is the microcurrent therapy. Now, microcurrent devices that we sell, we promote, we train in are the Avasia Life product line. We have 3 different devices, and each of these devices has varying frequencies programmed into it. Now, these frequencies, when we use the devices on the body, what we're doing is we're kind of using the device like a bit of a remote control to trigger the body's nervous system to respond. So as you and I know, our body is electric. We have little electricity running through it all the time. And this is essentially microcurrent. What we're doing with these devices is kind of tricking the body into thinking it's sending these signals. So turn off inflammation, regenerate bone. And it's all based on the body's own capability of doing this. Now, there are other things we do with it. We stimulate the vagus nerve. We do brain work to try and change brainwave frequencies. So for people that are chronically stressed and things like that. But for the most part, what we see the results in is this chronic pain pandemic that is ravaging the world, is getting people to reduce their pain, reduce their swelling, get off their medications, and be able to live their lives again. And these devices, being battery operated, they can work anywhere. The 2 AA batteries last about 6 months, and you're just doing little short treatments to stimulate the body to make these changes itself.
Okay, so wonderful. Lots of meat there to dive into. So let's go back to basics though. Okay, you got a patient, they've got chronic back pain. Mm-hmm. What is your training? You now got your Ph.D. in natural medicine, and you know a lot about this stuff now. So can you just explain in first principles what's going on electromagnetically in the back and in the brain and in the body when somebody's got chronic back pain?
Right. So usually what we tend to see is chronic pain being the result of inflammation that is persistent and long lasting. And that inflammation has not gone away when it was supposed to. So whatever they did to hurt their back, typically they should have gotten some inflammation as part of that natural healing process, and then it would have gone away. But for some reason, whether it's they're aggravating it by moving around, or they're just sitting awkwardly, or whatever it may be, the inflammation has not turned off. Now, this is where the brain and its electrical signals come in, because the brain triggered that inflammatory response. It has asked the body to do that for your body's own good. Mm-hmm. But it hasn't turned it off for some reason, and it should have. So what we are doing is we would then go in and we would use a specific frequency that is sort of training the body in an anti-inflammatory way. It's like an inflammation signal, but we're canceling it out. So we would then move the device over the area where the pain was, and this will, in effect, within 3 to 5 minutes, reduce their pain. And this, if it does not reduce their pain, then what we often see is that we're dealing with trigger points or referral problems that are not in that local area. And we have a variety of different protocols that can come into play then. But a basic treatment, if someone were to come and sit next to me and say their back was hurting, I would pull out the device, I would turn it on, I'd set it anti-inflammatory, and I would move it over their skin. The body, it kind of accepts the microcurrent. You feel a little tingle, but it'll be a smooth motion for the most part until you find those pockets of inflammation. And then the skin's response to the electricity becomes different. And it will be like suddenly you're pulling it through molasses. It's really slow. You can barely move it. The sound of the electricity might even cut off because it can't break through that inflammation. So that's when you work that area and the inflammatory pocket will break up. Additionally, we look at scar tissue quite a lot as well as being contributing there, because from a conductive standpoint, scar tissue almost can't take on water properly. So it is not conductive. And so when that brain sends that signal to the back to say, turn it off, turn that signal off, it might get slowed down. It might get blocked by some sort of scar tissue. Maybe the person got in a car accident and got really bad whiplash. And so the signal, the tissue, when it repaired, created some scar tissue, and the signal can't get through properly. So it's delayed, it takes some time, it's muddled up. When you treat that area with microcurrent, the collagen actually kind of lines back up and can accept water again. And so then the tissue's electrical potential is restored and the cells in the body can start to work again. And then with communication working, the brain should be able to turn off what it turned on.
And then for your collateral treatments of sleeping enough and healthy diets, low in inflammatory, and all those things will be complementary to this process as you go forward. Is that how it works?
Absolutely. Yeah, we typically see that people can get, because I think we get people a lot of the time that are coming and they've tried everything and they're like, I already tried these things. Some people will say to me, look, Rob, I don't want to do this if I have to change my diet. I don't want to do this if I have to start running a marathon. And I'll say to them, okay, well, I can guarantee you this is going to give you some level of relief. Maybe you get yourself 60% better, but you will not get 100% better unless you're willing to make changes. The thing is, once they've seen that they've gotten somewhat better, they're far more willing to make changes so that the terrain of the body is changed and improved and is able to open up the other avenues for treatment. I mean, when you look at those building blocks of nutrition, healthy sleep, this is providing the materials you need to rebuild your body. And if you're eating McDonald's every day, you're not going to have those materials versus if you were eating an anti-inflammatory diet. So everything piles on for sure. That's not to say that you can't find relief without changing those things.
Okay, so we talked before we dived on here today about the vagal nerve and that's integral component to healing and rest and repair. I just was reading the Stephen Porges book, The Polyvagal Theory, and he mentioned that 80% of the parasympathetic nervous system, with that component of the autonomic nervous system, which is related to healing and resting and digesting, and 80% of the parasympathetic is the vagal nerve. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure.
Where does that come in this journey of, healing inflammation, allowing the body to get back in sync with this healing response? Because the body can heal. If you fracture your bone, it will heal. If you cut your skin, it will heal. We know it heals. We just need to align ourselves with the healing potential within. So can we just discuss a little bit the vagal nerve and how does that tie in this part of the journey of healing?
Sure. So the vagus nerve, when someone is in a stress mode, in a fight or flight mode, their vagal tone changes. And so they're essentially going to be unable to relax and rest. And now when you can't relax and rest, you can't heal. And that's kind of, when we are in fight or flight, the best example is to talk about bears. When you are
on the island.
When you're on the island, if I'm putting my trash out and a bear comes up to me, I'm going to want to run away. My immediate response is run and live, not let this bear eat me. So I would run away from the bear. When I do that, my body engages fight or flight. So I'm either going to fight the bear or I'm going to run because I need to survive. And so a lot of the essential parts to our body healing get turned off, because why do we need them at that point? What we need is to get out of Dodge before the bear eats us. So we run away. I get in my house, I close my door, I breathe a bunch, and I calm down, and I should leave beta mode. I should be able to get back to a rest, digest, alpha state. Some people in chronic pain are constantly running from the bear because they're always worried about whether or not their pain is going to spike, or they're feeling good today, but when's it going to come back, right? Is their sister going to take the mickey out of them, make fun of them for having this injury, and why are you always complaining? It doesn't hurt. The stress of being in chronic pain puts them in that fight or flight mode. And this is persistent in my experience. When you can bring them out of fight or flight, they can heal, but they're never going to heal if they're constantly running from the bear. So even if they don't think they are stressed, if they are living with chronic pain, they are stressed. Their body is under stress. When we stimulate the vagus nerve, we do help to relax the body, because the vagus nerve is, it's called vagus because it means wandering, right? It goes all over the body. It touches like every vital organ we have, and it communicates with the brain. And so the brain will send these signals of stress and panic, and we can use the vagus nerve to ask it to calm down. That's one thing. The brain will also trigger the pain signals. And tumor necrosing factors, the production of those in the spleen was the first thing that was noticed during the original vagus nerve experiments to be blocked. So when you stimulated the vagus nerve, the spleen stopped producing TNFs. And this actually meant that inflammation was gone. It was not happening in the body. So they continued their experiments with this from a pain perspective, and they ended up eventually creating an electronic implant that they surgically implant in your body that lasts about 5 years, and then you have to get it replaced. But it just constantly stimulates the vagus nerve. The original trials they did this on was on people with rheumatoid arthritis, and they saw that pretty much every patient saw their pain levels resolve and even the swelling go down, because the inflammation in the body was no longer being able to be produced. Now, from a perspective of microcurrent, when we're treating someone, let's go back to that guy with the back injury. If I'm treating his back over the area that it hurts, and he sort of says to me, it's not really getting better, or it's moved, or whatever it may be, the area I'm treating is probably not the root of that inflammation. And just treating that area where he's inflamed is not going to fix his problem. But the vagus nerve, because it affects all of the organs in the body, because it affects so much in the gut where inflammation is created by our terrible diets and other factors, it is shutting down inflammation around the body. It's like it's extinguishing the fire. So the big advantage to vagus nerve when you're doing this therapy is that if you don't know where your pain or inflammation is coming from, you can still turn it off. You've got the light switch to your pain and inflammation in your neck, and you can just stimulate that. Okay, so there's people listening today, and maybe some of them are not seeing you on camera. Some of them, and I'm moving around a lot, right? And you held up the device, and do you just place it where the carotid artery is, the side of the neck? Is that where you go, it's a primary location to stimulate this vagal nerve? Yeah. So on the left side of your neck, because you have a right and a left side vagus nerve, right? On the left side of your neck, your vagus nerve affects more your intestines and your digestive organs. On the right side, it's more your lungs and your heart. So what we do is we as you say, we find the carotid artery, and then we go just a smidgen behind it. So we're not directly stimulating it. And then we hold the device on there and we adjust the power, and you feel a little kind of tingle. So we just ask people to find their carotid, which I can't really ever do when I'm talking, and then crawl back just a little bit. And then we put the device there. And when we turn it on, when we increase the power, the nerve and the muscles there will start to twitch, and they'll feel it in their gut. It'll kind of be a little vibration. And we do it for 3 minutes. The implanted vagus nerve stimulators do it 24/7. They're constantly stimulating your vagus nerve. Or some of the newer ones are now, they got it on Wi-Fi, so they can set up a custom pattern for you with the implanted ones. We don't like to stimulate it too much, because what we're trying to avoid is the body becoming dependent on the unit. Yeah. So we do 3 minutes 4 times per day for the first month, if we can, if the person's got their own device. And if a practitioner is seeing a person, we do it prior to treatment and after treatment. The goal being to train the body to start using these alpha, like 7 to 12 hertz frequencies, which is when the body is in that rest digest state, and calm the body down. And then eventually we can reduce the frequency that we need to use this for. Like most people will get down to 0 or 1 session a day, and keep those lasting effects. And the goal with this, and I can't emphasize this enough, if anyone ever does decide to go down this path, is not to overtreat. Don't treat yourself 24/7. Don't keep the machine on all the time, because it doesn't do you any favors to replace your dependency on one thing with a dependency on another. So we're all about training the body to make those changes for you.
Great description, and it kind of makes so much sense. You know, there's that one trigger here in the neck, and you mentioned other locations you sometimes use, but and how that would just, as you say, switch on for vagal tone, which is the relaxation. And does it have the opposite effect on the other side of the nervous system, the sympathetic, or is that a little bit different? This is your host, Wayne Phimister. Thanks for enjoying the show today. Today, I'm advertising my Healing Chronic Pain course. Now, it covers the new science of how your brain can heal pain. It covers the heart-brain connection, as well as the gut-brain connection. Also, I dive into inflammation, how you can heal that, and optimize movement as you move towards a new reality in your body. So check it out on the link below. Enjoy the show.
Yeah, so it kind of turns the sympathetic off, like, so you're no longer in that fight or flight kind of mode. I should mention as well that we typically do left side. The right side, as I said, is more lungs and heart. Right side is what we are doing with COVID patients, people with lung problems, because you want to kind of still get that anti-inflammatory effect. You can do that on the right side more than the left. Right. But otherwise, we stick predominantly to the left, just because most of the time you don't want to mess too much with the heart, and the heart's also on the right side, vagus nerve system. So, okay. And you also mentioned you go to other locations like the brain. Like, how does that work? Yeah, so we can do the same treatments through transcranial treatments. We can clip some ear clips to us, and then we've got a circuit that is passing through the brain and connecting. Vagal nerve stimulation, there's lots of different ways of doing it out there that people will talk about. One of the ways is most of them are microcurrent based. One of them is through the ear. And I personally, like when I did my research for my PhD, I did not find that through the ear had as much stuff going for it, because you actually have to go pretty deep in. So you need some sort of probe that can sit in your ear, not clipping onto your ear really in the same way, or wearing some sort of earpiece. You need, and whereas it just rides right along the neck so perfectly. It's right there. Like, we can get the microcurrent an inch or 2 into the body, so we can definitely catch it. There's no need to try and do it up on the ear. I've also found that when people use the ear-based ones, they are often aggravating problems. If the person has like, is it TMJ? Yeah, TMJ problems. It often aggravates that joint there. And I don't like aggravating anything when I'm trying to treat people. Okay, so that I did see some studies that were involving this external stimulation, and that's what they were doing, is just pinning them a couple of points in the ears, not even the lobes, but the whole ear. And I know Stephen Porges is doing some research with some pediatricians with IBS, and diving into the medical condition world. Which, I think everything is open to change when we go down this path. Oh, absolutely. There's so many different potential things. The original vagus nerve stimulation is implanted in the neck. Yeah. And so, when we saw that first research come out, I think it made it into Scientific American like a while ago. We saw it and we were like, why don't we just do that with what we've got? And we we just kind of went on the neck as well. No cutting in, no doing any of that stuff. And it's one of those things for us, like why break what isn't broken, right? Like this is a method that's worked really well for us. So we just keep hammering on the same path. I've had clients that have wanted to try different options because some people say they struggle to find their carotid artery, which a little bit concerning in some ways that they can't feel a pulse there. But you know, I'd rather that they keep trying that method and just than go to the ears, because I haven't found anywhere near as good of results, even though it is something that we can do as well with the tools that we have.
Okay. And so what specifically was your PhD on?
So I did, I'll see if I can remember the title. It was Non-Invasive Vagus Nerve Stimulation for the Elimination of Chronic Pain. And so we specifically took a case study group of people that had a variety of different conditions. I didn't want to do one specific condition. I wanted to just do pain in general that was associated with pain. So I ended up with some people with like rheumatoid arthritis, some people with Crohn's disease, CRPS. I had a couple of people with that. Some people that just had back pain, migraines, things like that. And what we did is we gave them 4 weeks of self-treatment daily. We did four times a day. And we checked in with them on Zoom consistently to make sure they were doing it right, and you know that this was working for them. And we just asked them to rate their pain. So we measured the inflammation by pain. And so essentially what we ended up with was about an 85% elimination of pain in 4 weeks, with reductions found in other people. Typically the people that took a bit longer were the CRPS patients, very, very painful condition, the complex regional pain syndrome. And so out of those people, one person ceased to do the treatment before the end, and the other person that had CRPS continued it for a month afterwards and did get their pain down to a 2 on the pain scale. But they had only made it down to about a 6 from a 9 at the beginning. So we were seeing significant reductions, but you know, I thought it was kind of statistically significant with the like 85, 86% that we had like elimination of, especially since it was across all the different issues. And the other thing that was really good to see in the data, and I expected this because we've been doing this for a long time, was a reduction in their other symptoms as well when the inflammation was reduced. So the Crohn's patients, for example, their frequency of bowel movements was reduced, and you know, their rectal bleeding and things like that was gone. So they were there. That showed us that the body was also reducing an inflammation, but also healing itself. You know, we were starting to see some restored function from rheumatoid arthritis patients with significant deformities. Like they had a little bit more flexibility. So as that inflammation switch was flipped off, things started to kind of repair up. And that was really what we wanted to see there.
How many people was in the study?
I think I originally wanted to do 50. But unfortunately, I also wanted all of them to go off of their medications. And I ended up getting down to 20 by the end of that. But we set it up in the medications thing because what we found in the past is when people are on their medications, as they start to come off them, they'll always see a pain spike because their body's so numbed that even if they've actually got a reduction in pain, and I thought that would skew the data a little bit. A lot of people were not willing to give up their medications, so I couldn't include them in the case studies.
Okay, so 85%. So that was what, 85 of 20 people. How much is that? Is that 17 people? 17
people were resolved, and then one of them stopped completely, and that one didn't get any further. The other 2 people, it was another month or so they continued to treat, and then one of them was CRPS, and the other one might have been ulcerative colitis. They continued treatment and did see further reductions. So I feel like if they continue, then they would be, you know, getting towards that resolution.
Wow. Where did you publish your research in an article?
It's not been published yet. It's been, you know, it was marked by the university, accepted by the university, and they want me to publish it, but I have to do a bunch of stuff first, apparently. Yeah. Lots of forms to file.
Yeah, the Boulder, did you see that Boulder, Colorado chronic back pain study that's been ongoing, I think, for 5 years. And it finally published on the 29th of September in JAMA Psychiatry, which showed in low-level pain, 66% reduction, 66% pain-free or almost pain-free, 0 to 1 out of 10. And that was with the pain reprocessing therapy that Alan Gordon's been doing for a long time in LA. And he partnered up with Howard Schubiner in Michigan. So they did the study in Colorado. And through their just fear-based or understanding the fear association with pain and then working with that as the core principle. Right. So something that, for me, it's been a missing piece, I would say, in my clinical work. And you say, you need to get patient involvement to get to that 100% level. And that's certainly something I've experienced. But for me, I'm getting people about, up to 80% with my techniques. And then the last 20%, 30%, people can, the evidence shows that people can go pain-free when the pain is low enough. So it's an interesting, slightly different from you, but it's involving the vagal nerve at the end of the day. It's that calming response. It's that stimulation of the parasympathetic nervous system. Yeah. To optimize.
And I think when I talk to people about it, people know about the vagus nerve. If they're in pain, they've looked it up. They think they've probably watched many summits and things on it, and they think, this is me. I know my vagus nerve has something to do with it, and they'll say that to me. But the ways that they've tried to stimulate the vagus nerve to reduce it, they're not very easy for people that are in chronic pain. But this is not something, they don't have to calm their mind. They don't have to, try and forget their pain. They're applying a probe to their neck and the electricity does it for them. So the advantage there is that you can kind of pull them through their own problems and get them to start stimulating it from day one. Which I think is really proving useful for me. And to the point where, like, whenever I do presentations, I'm always telling people, if you take one thing away from this, please let it be that you will stimulate your vagus nerve 4 times a day. Don't come back to me in a month's time and tell me that you didn't really see many results. And then I ask you how many times you stimulated the vagus nerve and you say 3 or 4 over the course of a month. Like, you need to get it, you need to get the body trained to accept those frequencies. And it's not going to do that. It's like if you're training a puppy, but you only took it outside to pee like 4 times a month, it's going to keep peeing in your house. You need to train your body like it's a puppy, and you got to take care of it closely at the beginning.
Did you actually measure any heart rate variability in this study?
Unfortunately, no, because I didn't have the equipment to everyone. I didn't have all the patients with me. I had some in Australia, some in Canada, some in the US. I have one in Israel. So they were all over the world. And cost-wise, I didn't want to send everyone the kind of heart rate, the HeartMath program is what we would use for that. But I do know of people that have been working on replicating the studies in the States that have told me they have measured heart rate variability and seen that things really that do balance out when they're doing the vagus nerve on their patients.
Yeah, HeartMath has been doing it for 30 years. So that would be, I think, the measurement tool really in the future for any major study regarding healing and vagal nerve. And I love that concept. We talked about healing pain at the beginning. It's not about treating pain. Nobody wants to treat it. Everybody wants to heal it. Yeah. And all of a sudden, we've got this vagal nerve scientific word, this scientific nerve, this theory now proven through research to be stimulated. So it's not 100 miles away, 100 years away. It's there. It's there. It's in the studies. It's in the literature. It's just getting it through, percolating it through into the system one little step at a time. So in 20, 30 years time, all our kids and then their kids, this is what they use, this is what you do for pain.
Yeah, exactly. And it's moving forward in a lot of different ways. I know a couple of months ago, Health Canada approved vagus nerve stimulation for COVID patients in hospital. I mean, before that, I wouldn't have seen them approve it for anything. But now it's something, and it's non-invasive vagus nerve stimulation. So that people are looking at it, they're seeing the results of it. and it's going to continue to grow and advance. I think we talked about this a little bit at the beginning too, is that the pharmaceutical industry isn't going away. There is a vagus nerve stimulator, I can't remember the name of it, that you can get that's made by a pharmaceutical company, and it's like $300 or something to buy it to start. It's pretty cheap entry point, but then you got to pay $300 a month because you get charges. You can only do so many, and then you have to buy a new card with a new code that you can put in to reactivate your charges again. So it's like doses, right? It's just like paying per pill, you're paying per dose. And we were approached by a microcurrent company that was looking to do something just like that, create this like mass market microcurrent device, and they wanted us on board with it. But their platform was, whenever you want to use a program, you pay. So you're like got your credit card hooked up to this iPad that's hooked up to this machine, and you're like, oh, $25, I need to treat myself. And so that's where you're kind of seeing that end of the stick, where the pharmaceutical companies are involved in this, but they'll only become involved in it if they can make money on it. It's at the end of the day, it has to make sense. And yeah, I mean, we're going to continue to keep promoting our product, which, is once you have it, you just have to replace batteries every few months.
Okay, so tell us about your product. How can people get a hold of it? How can they contact you?
Sure. Yeah. So it's the Avasia Life product line. You can find information to contact us or to look more at the products on our website, which is www.painfreeforlife.com. And there's all sorts of ways to contact on there. You can even book an appointment with me, and I'll chat with you about it and whether I think it might be a good fit for you.
Okay. Well, everybody listening, check it out. It's going to be pain-free living. Contact Dr. Rob. So listen, it's been great to see you again. And I hope things on the island settle down with the floods that are now going on here in BC, and things get back to more of a normal pace of life and normality. So yeah.
Well, thanks for having me again. I appreciate it, Wayne.
Okay, you take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.